welcome to our Play for Performance podcast today. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest, Will Greenblatt, CEO and co-founder of Out Loud Speaker School. Will has a unique background transitioning from a successful child actor to a dedicated coach for executives and founders. He specializes in helping leaders tell their stories effectively on stage and online, leveraging his extensive experience to guide clients in securing over $350 million in deals and investments. Will has delivered more than 250 talks across 5 countries, partnering with organizations such as Google, Boston Dynamics, and Remax. He's been recognized as Canada's best pitch coach by Founder Institute Waterloo and awarded Canada's best small coaching business in 2024. Will is committed to building a 7-figure speaking business and empowering 1 million people to achieve the same. Today, he will share his experience on authentic speaking, personal storytelling and sales, and building marketing funnels as a solopreneur. Please welcome Will Greenblatt. We're so excited to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So I'll start with a couple questions, but I have a feeling we're probably going to veer off here and there with some fun little topics. How did overcoming personal challenges shape your approach to coaching executives and founders and storytelling?
I mean, I think that's the best thing a coach usually can offer is like a personal experience with overcoming their own stuff. Because really, at the end of the day, as coaches, we kind of believe that what's getting in someone's way isn't the actual problem, but it's the deep-seated thing underneath the problem. So not quite therapists, but like approaching that kind of work where you go, okay, you want to get more visibility. So what's going wrong? Okay, you're not posting enough on LinkedIn. Okay, well, why not? Oh, well, you feel like an imposter, or you don't think that what you have to say is worth anything. Well, let's talk about that, right? And then you kind of go deeper and deeper. So I've been through a bunch of stuff in my life, as have we all. And so, as a kid, I got molested when I was 5 years old, which really shaped me as a young boy. Obviously, a lot of trauma around there. I lost my brother as a teenager, so that was a huge trauma for me as well. And then there's a bunch of other things, but sort of the most recent and pertinent one was I had a really bad injury, which kind of forced me to go to therapy to deal with all this stuff. And so it was one of those things where I wouldn't have gone to therapy unless I was in severe physical pain, because I had been resisting it for years and years and years. And finally, a doctor was like, unless you go to therapy, you're not going to deal with this chronic pain that you're in. But that was great because it was the catalyst for like starting to heal. And as I started to go to therapy, I realized like I'm a public speaking coach, but it's not just about teaching people to use their hands and their voice and their body and their face. It's about overcoming the deep shit that we all go through. I'm so sorry if I'm not allowed to curse on this. Okay. Yeah. Like that's the thing. That's the work, the deep work as we call it, is like figuring out what's in your way emotionally, and a lot of that stuff comes from your past, which is why I like to focus on personal storytelling so much, because to integrate your story and make it your superpower or your differentiator, like what's your unique story and perspective that people will hire you for, that people will want to work with you for, that people will hire you to speak or follow you on social media or get into your world, for all the things that you're trying to accomplish in your business. That's why I find it so interesting to work on storytelling.
Yeah, and I thank you so much for sharing your story. You've overcome a lot, and to share that with other people is very empowering, and I think it also helps them. One of the reasons why I wanted to ask you that was a little bit of my background. I was diagnosed my 3rd year in nursing school with a learning disability. I had struggled all through high school, all through college, and finally was tested. And I take tests horribly, which I would bomb all of them, but I was making it pass through my not storytelling, that's you, through my practicums and other projects that I would do. It was the only thing that was carrying me through school. And so a little bit of my story is that, and pivoting from struggling to learn to helping other people learn better, because so many adults struggle learning, and especially people in my generation, ADD, ADHD, that was not a thing back then. And if it was like, well, you just need to study harder, or you need to try harder, or whatever the antidote was at the time. So I appreciate you sharing that. I read a book several years ago that I completely resonate with, that it sounds similar to what you're saying, is it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. And
Yeah.
our path and our whatever trauma, we all have trauma, whatever it looks like to each person as individual, to bring that to the forefront and say, let's talk about it and let's embrace it and let's look at how that can make you better. Because a lot of times my trauma I turn that into my superpower.
Yeah.
So thank you again for sharing your vulnerable story. We really appreciate that.
And you as well.
Oh, thank you. So share the key strategies that have enabled your clients to secure over $350 million in deals and investments. What do you use? What's the trick?
Part of the trick was me not knowing the right way to teach people how to pitch. So like I came into the game just being like, well, acting skills are the perfect thing to teach people to be better public speakers. And then I got a gig with Techstars Toronto, which was a startup tech accelerator here. And they asked me, hey, could you do something for our founders? You know, we noticed that the level of their pitches is pretty low. It's pretty low quality. Can you teach them your thing and help them? And so they weren't convinced that I would do a good job at first because I was new in the game. So I said, that's fine. They paid me like a very small amount to do a pilot program. And then they ended up having like one of the most successful demo days of any chapter. And so we realized, okay, there's something here. So then they brought us back every year to work with their startups. And we ended up kind of working with some other chapters in Montreal and in the US and stuff. And what we were doing was not the traditional way of teaching startups to pitch, which is hyper-focus on the content of the pitch, find a way to make it sound as attractive to investors as possible, really talk about the market opportunity and talk about, the traction, all of which is important, right? But what I saw, because I was an outsider to this industry of tech and VC and everything, what I saw which was important is tell people your story and communicate with passion. And so I just helped them do that. And they had all these mentors to help them with what they needed to include in the pitch. But what we brought was this missing piece. And that really often ends up being the difference between a pitch that gets funded and a pitch that doesn't, is the passion of the founder when they're speaking and their ability to show who they are in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. You don't have a lot of time with investors or customers, to make an impression. So if you're able to inject your personality and your story into that interaction, it's so much, it expedites the trust building process. As long as you do it honestly, you can't do it cynically. Right.
And you're presenting as a human. Like, I'm here and I want to tell you why this is such a great product or service, enter X here. And we want you to be a part of it because we're so excited about it. And I think that's very helpful in all sales, no matter where you go. I used to coach sales for a cybersecurity company, and they sadly would spew all the great things about our product, and a little bit different. But on that side, it was kind of stop talking about us and listen to them and hear what they have to say. And that's when we find if there's a problem, how can we fix it? Maybe we're not the solution, but let's refer you to somebody else that is.
Yeah.
And again, it's that being genuine. I'll just say that.
No, you're right. It's that human thing where you're like, okay, I'm not going to force this down your throat if it's not right for you. Like, I don't want to take someone's money who's not going to benefit from my solution. I don't want to do that. That's because I'm a human being and I don't want to be an asshole. So if you give me $5,000 and I don't help you, I will feel like shit. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I don't think anyone should want that. And if you do, that's just, you're not ethical as a business person. Right. There's a lot of those out there. But, learn, as you said, listening to somebody, figuring out what's going on in their business, what's working, what's not working, what are they really scared of, what are the emotions. We talked about going deeper in therapy and coaching. That's part of it, is like, as a salesperson, if you can be a really good listener and question asker, then you get to the root of the problem. Oh, it's not that you need a cybersecurity solution, it's that you have these really intense shareholders who have really sensitive data. And so you're actually looking for peace of mind, not necessarily, this feature that allows you to have all your widgets in a dashboard. You really want something that's going to make you feel really safe and your customer, whatever it is, But I had a point to make and now it's completely flown my mind, but from before. Oh, yes. the question that they always talk about, founders and mentors of founders always talk about, is that you have to answer the question for investors, why you, why this?
Okay.
And that question is so important for anyone who's talking about the work that they do to answer. Why are you doing this and not something else? Because if it's just this and it could be anything, then I don't want to work with you, because you have no passion, you have no personal affinity for this. But if this is something that comes from a deep-rooted urge to make the world better for this particular type of people and tackle this particular type of problem, I want to work with you.
Right. And I see that passion in you. I see that energy just exploding on the screen if you're not watching. So
hopefully through the mic as well.
Absolutely. No, I hear it as well. So looking forward, what strategies are you implementing to achieve your goal, which we talked about, of teaching 1 million people effective public speaking skills?
So I'm trying to build like a personal brand, quote unquote. I hate that term. I haven't found a better one. If you know a better one, please let me know. If anybody knows a better one, comment it. It's infuriating because that term sounds so slimy and inauthentic. It sounds like I'm picking a color and a suit and a hat and a thing, and that's my personal brand.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people like Chris Do, who's fantastic, he talks about this. I have a colleague, Marina Bajanova, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She's awesome on LinkedIn talking about personal branding. But it's like what people know you for and what they associate you with and what you care about and what you talk about. And that's the personal brand thing. And then it's how easy is that for people to find online, and how streamlined is it for them to move through not necessarily your funnel if you're not selling something, but just to kind of get into your world. So whether that's a newsletter or a book or a coaching service or a product that you have to sell or an investor pipeline that you're trying to fill if you're going to fundraise in 12 months but not now, whatever that is, getting people to gather online in your community where they're receiving your thoughts and your updates and your news. And you can call it a funnel or you can call it an ecosystem, whatever you like, but it's basically about that online community or place for people to gather and get updates who care about what you're up to. And so that is my strategy now, is to how do I build out that ecosystem to find more people who want to tell their story and build a speaking business, have better ways to share everything I've learned and want to teach people, and be able to scale that. So it's not just me working one-on-one with a few people who find me or have enough money to do so, but disseminating the information in a way that people who don't pay anything can still learn, people who pay a tiny little bit can learn a bit more, and then the people who really are perfect for the one-on-one can do that.
Yeah, I appreciate the people that can pay a little bit or people that can pay a lot. There's always value in investing in our story and investing in what we do. I appreciate you saying that.
If I can break it down,
please, yes,
just real quick. What it is now, and I'm always trying to make it better, but what it is now is basically like LinkedIn is the only social media platform I'm active on. I just can't focus on anything else. So I'm like, why not just focus on LinkedIn? It's where the professional people are. And apparently only 5% of users actively post, or even less. It's like a really kind of crazy discrepancy between who's consuming content and who's creating it. And I remember Swish, I think his name is, who's a big LinkedIn creator. He's big in many places, but he mentioned that stat to me years ago, and I went, oh shit, I gotta take this seriously. So I started posting on LinkedIn seriously about 3 years ago. And now I'm almost at 9,000 followers, which is not huge, but not nothing. And so I'm really happy about that and proud of it. And that's kind of like my first line of awareness for most people. And then the other is going to and speaking at events. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I interrupted you. I apologize. Do you do a newsletter also, or are you just speaking? Okay.
And I view the newsletter as kind of being a little deeper. So I share a bit more personal information there. I kind of go a bit deeper into my story. I expand upon the kind of things that I would talk about on stage or on LinkedIn in the newsletter. Then the level beneath that is my community called Speaking Heroes. And right now we meet twice a week, but I'm going to scale that back because it's a huge drain on my time.
Yeah.
But it's like $150 a month, and we work on people's speaking careers basically, and creating all the assets that they need to get booked as a speaker, creating their intellectual property, creating their topics, and helping them practice. And then the level below that is one-on-one coaching. And then I also have workshops and cohorts that I do for organizations. So that's kind of the deepest level, how deep we go into the content.
Nice. That's thank you for sharing all that. I appreciate it because I know our listeners will want to know. Any new initiatives or programs you have in development to support executives and founders?
Yes, I'm working on a video course.
Oh, okay.
And this is because I finally am doing it what I hope is the right way. For years, I was like, here's what I want to teach. I'm going to spend a lot of time and money making a video course on it. And I've done that twice now, and it's flopped both times. The first time I did it, I spent $5,000 on a videographer to like really book this thing. And yeah, it was crazy. But I've learned from my mistakes. And so I've been talking to a lot of my clients. I've been working with people, and so I'm building out the course based on the questions people have actually asked me and told me the things they really want to learn. So I'm trying to reverse engineer it and do it based on what people actually want to learn versus what I want to teach.
Hey, you're a great salesman. You heard what they say their problem is, and you're solving that solution or creating that solution.
It only took me 8 years to figure that out.
That's all right. My career has been a long one too, and I'm finally at a place where I'm doing what I love, and it's not paying all the bills yet, but I'm still putting in the effort to get it out there, to talk to people, to do it, to coach. I enjoyed corporate America because it was nice working with other people and making the organization sales better, but I enjoy more of the personal approach of one-on-one or small teams coaching. So not to derail, but anyway. So
No, I love that.
You do your own thing, but you also are at Out Loud Speaker School. Is that right? So what's the culture like at Out Loud Speaker School?
So it's changed because it used to be kind of a growth agency where I was like, okay, my model is I'm going to build out the curriculum. I'm going to hire as many coaches as I can and send them out to as many clients as I can, and that's how we're going to grow. And we did that, decently. We got up to about 8 coaches at one time who were all working simultaneously for different cohorts. They were mainly like B2B coaching cohorts, leadership development. It was all focused on public speaking and communication and storytelling, but we were kind of going into organizations. They would pick a cohort of people or a team or a department, and we'd work with them for like 6 months, meeting every 2 weeks and doing one-on-ones and group coaching and taking them through our curriculum. And that was really fun, but my particular job became being a CEO, and I actually thought I wanted that, but I really did not. I didn't want to be a CEO because I don't want to be responsible for a growth company. It's just not what I wanted to spend at this point in my life. Maybe that'll change. But I had a young daughter. My wife was pregnant, then my daughter was born. And also the coaching industry just tanked. So I was spending all my time doing stuff I didn't want to do, which was managing people, training people, having sales conversations, and I wasn't doing any coaching, any speaking, any writing, any content creation, all these things I actually love to do. So it was kind of a happy tragedy in a way. Like, it was horrible at the time, but now with some perspective, I think it's what needed to happen. Our pipeline completely dried up within 6 months, and I had to fire our 2 full-time employees, which was horrific. It was the first time I've ever done that, and I really hated it. And I had to tell all the subcontractors, coaches that were working for us that there was no more work. And basically the company, as it was, almost shut down. Then I realized, okay, well, this is not actually what I want to be doing. So maybe use this as an opportunity to rethink some things. And then I thought about it, and I realized my business partner, and I also were trying to do different things with the company. So I bought her out of the company and said, hey, if I take this over, I'll basically change the name, because the brand we had built wasn't worth anything.
Yeah.
People came for her or for me, the personal brand. They came to us and were like, I want to work with you. And then if I worked with them for a while, I could say, hey, I've got these other coaches. But it wasn't like we'd created this well-known brand, Out Loud Speaker School, that people were flocking to. And if they had that logo, they would trust them. Yeah. It was all through our individual relationships, myself or my business partner. So I realized, okay, well, we're trying to do different things anyways. Let's separate. And I'll keep the infrastructure of the company, because you have to like pay money to dissolve a company. Yeah. So somebody told me, he's like, just keep the company, keep the tax ID, keep all that stuff, and then just rename it. So I haven't renamed it yet. I will. But right now I'm kind of just branding myself online as Will Greenblatt. There's no real company name there. It's just I'm a dude who does some stuff, and this is what I do.
Yeah.
And I found that way more effective than trying to build this sort of faceless brand, which has a color and a logo, but no identity. Yeah. And it's so much easier to build it around your personal identity.
It's kind of freeing, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then I can talk like a human being. And then now that I'm on my own, I just say what I want to say. Mm-hmm. And I talk about what I want to talk about. And the only person who suffers is me. Right. And now maybe my executive assistant, who's awesome. But, if I tank my own personal brand, then she's out of a job. But
that's on me. I got this. Right?
Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to do that.
People, a lot of people think that entrepreneurship is easy, that it's, you just, and you mentioned it in a podcast I was listening to earlier, just do what you love and the money will come. And you said that that's not always true. Yeah. And at the end, you kind of came around and said, do what you love and learn how to make money from it. And I thought that is amazing because so many people want to do their own thing. I'll say I'm included. I wanted to do my own coaching, but people don't just come because they know me. They come, I need to find them and bring them and show them the value that I have, and et cetera, et cetera. So you are a fun person. I've seen that on your LinkedIn posts. How do you incorporate fun into your coaching, teaching, speaking?
When I was at theater school, it was a pretty joyless environment, which you wouldn't think, right? You'd think, I thought it was like, it's going to be drama class for adults. It was not that. At least my theater school at my time, I went to National Theatre School of Canada. It was supposed to be the best in the country. My older sister had gone there, and so I met her class, and they were all really cool, and it seemed like fun from the outside. What I didn't realize was that the school was kind of going through a transition period, and the culture was going through a transition period. Like, not to get too deep and philosophical, but, Me Too was about less than a decade away. And a lot of the abuse that people were suffering at the hands of powerful teachers, instructors, people in the film business, but also in the theatrical training business, a lot of that stuff was considered normal. Like, you treat the students like shit, and that's how the industry works, so get used to it. And if you can't survive here, you'll never survive in the industry. But the big lie, of course, was the industry is much easier than theater school. The industry is way easier. Because you can just go fuck you if you don't like it, and you can quit, or I never worked as hard on a show as I did in theater school. We were working 13-hour days, 6 days a week. I had one day off to do my laundry and shopping and try to recover before going back into it. Kids were having nervous breakdowns left and right. A lot of the teachers were really shitty.
Yeah,
we were teenagers, a lot of us too, and they had no idea how to work with kids, and they were just, in my opinion, they were insecure at their own lack of knowing how to educate. So when I became a teacher first, an English teacher, and then a coach, I always said, I'm going to make sure that I do it completely different from the way I was educated. Because I'm teaching a lot of the same stuff of the acting skills and the way. Mm-hmm. But their method was, let me break you down and build you back up. My method is, let me make this as fucking fun as possible, so you want to do it, so you will do it. And I'm going to tell you why we're doing these weird things when we're doing them. And because I used to ask why, and they would tell me to shut up and do it. I'm going to tell you why. What's the purpose of this fucking weird noise exercise that we're doing, or this weird face that we're making? Like, we have all these crazy things in warm-ups and exercises. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to make fun of it. I'm going to let you make fun of it. I'm going to acknowledge that it's silly. I'm going to find a way to make it more fun. I'm going to call out the absurdity of it. Mm-hmm. So we do a lot of role-playing exercises too, which is very awkward for a lot of people, but I make sure that I do it with them, so I'm always in the role play and showing how to make it, and making jokes during it, so it's not just this stuffy, serious thing. And once you get people laughing, then after that you can kind of tell them the truth. That classic comedy line, like you can tell them the truth if you make them laugh. Right. It's kind of the same thing when you're teaching. If I tell you, Jolynn, the way that you're talking is really not serving you, and you're losing opportunities because of it, and it's, you're going to be like, Jesus, what the hell? But if I do a role play with you, and then you say something to me, and then I react as the person in the role play in a funny way that kind of highlights the way that you're talking to me and the way we can make it better, everybody laughs. It's not at anyone's expense. And then I can go, okay, so we see what happened there. And it's funny, but there's something to learn there. And then we can kind of take it from that angle. So to me, the fun aspect of it has to be there. Because otherwise my clients won't do what I ask of them and they won't improve.
So fun is a lot of the goal of my podcast is Play for Performance. We talk about how can we make work more enjoyable, more fun, more playful, if you will. And laughing is a great place to start. It's interesting. Do you find a lot of pushback when you want to bring in the role play or the laughter from more of the corporate space? Do you see a lot of...
I think I'm lucky because I have what I'm calling these days the demonstrator's advantage, which I don't know if there's already a term for this, and it's a little hard to describe, but I'll try. You know how people post on LinkedIn, like, here are my best performing posts on LinkedIn, but they're all about growing on LinkedIn? So that demonstrator has an advantage where what I'm talking about is also what I'm known for. And so it's a little different, right? If I was, let's say, if I was teaching people how to do something technical, like use a software better, and I came in and I'm like, we're going to role play, they might be like, well, just teach me how to use the software. Like, why are we doing this weird stuff? But because I'm an acting, storytelling, public speaking coach, and because I position myself as a former actor, I kind of often come into the corporate world as a breath of fresh air.
Right.
And people understand that, I'm kind of coming in with this weird energy, but it makes sense for who I am and what I talk about.
Nice.
So I have that advantage. But I still believe, without the demonstrator's advantage, you can start to incorporate more fun and laughter. The only pushback I get is in my language. Like, people don't like that I swear. Some people.
It's not that bad.
Other people tell me it's the reason that they trust me, or that they or that they laugh, and that they feel like they can relax around me. Right. And I feel the same way about people who aren't too buttoned up. So that's usually the pushback I get. In terms of the fun and the role playing and the play, I think people are desperate for that in their lives, especially in the fucking corporate world. It's so boring and stuffy. And somebody comes in with a game. As long as people think that it's not just for no reason, it has to be relevant. But someone comes in with a game or something fun, and the audience just lights up. Everybody in the room is like, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for bringing some joy into our gray, drab workday.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So you shared a couple of personal stories earlier, and even one recently about the acting school. Is that really what influenced your approach to coaching and public speaking? Was the horrible time you had in acting school, or was there anything else that really encouraged or influenced your approach in that way?
I think the other two sort of phases after theater school, which were my time teaching English in Spain, and then my time being part of a English teaching startup in China.
Okay.
So in Spain, I learned how to teach, and I never had taught before, like in any serious way. I'd, done a couple things here and there, but I started studying how to teach, how to educate. So I started reading things, and because when I was first doing it, I was just trying to pay my way through Spain. I was trying to party and have a source of income so I could survive.
Right.
And then quickly I realized, I actually care about this, and I want to do it well. Because I sucked my first 6 months. I had no idea what to do. I would put on movies. I would just I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to handle a class. I was working with a lot of kids too, and I was in over my head. And then eventually I was like, okay, I want to do this well. I don't want to just phone this shit in. And so I started reading books about education, and I started talking to older teachers. That was my main thing. I started to really ask for advice from some of the older, more established teachers I was working with. And you just realize, how do you get through to someone? Whether it's a kid or an adult, how do you connect with them? How do you help them get something? Right. So I started learning about teaching and taking education seriously. And then from there, I joined a group of some other English teachers who were friends of mine from Canada, some of them were with me in Spain, some of them weren't, but we all co-founded this startup in China, which was supposed to be a school for kids. We couldn't get the license for that. But it was an English education and became a coaching company. And all the breakdown in communication between the co-founders is also what helped me with my coaching. Because I would sit there and I would listen to one adult over here and one adult over here just talk past each other and not say the thing that I knew was on their mind because they had bitched to me about it over a cigarette like an hour ago. And then they weren't saying what they had told me they wanted to say or what they wanted the other person to know.
Yeah.
And I was just watching these two people just go like this. And I started almost becoming like a translator where I would say, no, what she's saying is actually, what I think you're saying is this, right? And what you want to say is this. And they'd be like, yes. And I'd be like, why can't you do it? But
say
it's hard. Yeah, just say the thing. Yeah,
exactly.
And so kind of, and I mean, I fail at that all the time. I did fail it during that time as well. But I really started noticing this problem that people have, which is they don't know how to say what they mean because they're worried about offending someone, or they don't even know it themselves, or they're either unaware of what they really want to say, or they don't know how to say it the right way.
Yeah.
And so observing that also, I think, positioned me to be a communication public speaking coach, because I was like, people really struggle with this, just saying what they mean, but not in a way that offends people. And so I can help.
That's great. Thank you. Because you sit, again, at an advantage point of knowing these two and knowing what they have been thinking about and hearing them speak, and you're just like, okay, time out. Let's regroup. Is this what you meant? Is this what you meant? Great. Now we can go from there. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So now I've got a couple questions for you that are completely Play for Performance related. Do you have a daughter? You've told me she's 2.5.
Yes.
Do y'all play with Lego bricks?
Yes, she plays with Mega Blocks. Do you know the Mega Blocks?
I do, yes.
By the way, she got into this Lego that you sent me.
Nice.
And so I think I have all the pieces you originally sent, but they may be some may be scattered under the couch. But she loved it. She went right for it, but I just was worried about her swallowing.
I was going to say, there's some little pieces in there, so if you need a count of what all should be in that bag, let me know and I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
So
if she swallowed one, it was a few days ago, so she'll be fine. But
we're past it. Do you have a favorite, or did you play with Legos when you were growing up? Do you have a favorite build project? Do you have any favorites?
There was one that I remember they gave you, like, it was a castle one, but they gave you this big green base with like a moat painted on, and it had like hills, and there was a dragon and a knight, and me and my brother just like wore that thing out. It was so cool. I just remember how much of a fantasy world it created, and how I felt like we were in this magical kingdom thing, and I just loved it so much. But partially because so much of the base was already built, and I'm not very skilled with my hands, so I'm more of a words guy.
One of the phrases that we use in the Lego world is free builds, which is what essentially I do all the kits. Like I unbox, I open up the book, I do bag 1 and bag 2. There's people that I've met that just like, no, I just throw out the directions and do it myself. I'm like, what? Like, how can you do that? Me neither. My brain just doesn't work that way. So thinking about your personal toolbox, what is one thing that our audience can take with them today from you and your work and your toolbox? One thing.
Tell your story as honestly as you possibly can.
Thank you. Thank you. And remind our audience how they can find you.
LinkedIn is the best place. As I say, that's the kind of top of the awareness for me. From there, I have links to my speaker reel, which like has a video of me talking about all the stuff I do as a speaker. It has an access to my community speaking heroes, where we work with people in a small group. It has a link to my newsletter, and I post about everything I'm up to. I try to post every day on LinkedIn. Awesome. And so that's the best place, Will Greenblatt. And send me a connection request if you drop me a note saying I saw you on this podcast. I love connecting with people.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your energy, your insight. So many of us are afraid to be our genuine selves because of not being accepted for whatever that may look like to each individual. So allowing your authentic self to be here today and to share your stories, I really do appreciate it, Will. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And Will Greenblatt, find him on LinkedIn. He's always quick to respond and connect, and he does some phenomenal speaking things. So thanks for joining us today, everybody. We'll see you again soon.
See ya.
That's a wrap on another episode of Play for Performance. I hope today's conversation sparked some ideas for how you can bring more joy and engagement into your workplace. Remember, transforming workplace culture doesn't happen overnight, but every small step toward play and connection makes a difference. Try one thing we discussed today, even something small, and see what happens. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who could use a little more play in their professional life. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss our weekly conversations with incredible guests who are changing the game of workplace engagement. Have a guest suggestion or want to share your own play at work story? Reach out to me at jolynn@elevateyourtalent.co or find me on LinkedIn. I love hearing from you. Until next week, keep playing, keep performing, and remember, work doesn't have to be taken seriously to be serious. This has been Play for Performance. I'm Jolynn Ledgerwood, and I'll see you next time.